Hello, this is Felicia Alvarado. This is my final for Philosophy 341 with Professor Albright. And today I'm going to be discussing the levels of self. I'm going to be just really focusing on the last three and then touching on the fourth a little bit and kind of comparing and contrasting some of the other philosophers' ideas and perspectives on this as well. So I'm going to start obviously with the first level, which is just really when you're born and who you innately are and the matter and the physics behind it and your life and your death, things like that. And so I want to compare that to Hobbes, because I think Hobbes has this really, not bad way, but just a really blunt way of looking at how humans are from the get-go, and he thinks that we are naturally self-seeking, pleasure-driven people, and that when a little baby comes out, maybe some philosophers think he's just this innocent little cute thing baby. Well, Hobbes thinks from day one that they are just have this pleasure and desire to have this fulfillment of being fed, sleeping, and that's what babies do. Then that kind of plays into the second level, which is your life biology, the laws of biology, Freud's id, and the human animal within us. And obviously they're very closely connected because it goes from the first level to the second, and I think in a lot of ways they're really similar to one another because it's still just your instinctive desires. And I think more than the instinct is for survival. I mean, bottom line, you need to eat, you need to sleep, you need shelter, you need to use the bathroom, you need those things. And so innately you will desire them and seek them. And I wanted just to touch on Freud's id and how he thinks that humans are just like animals, which at first is a little offensive because you're like an animal and you look at a dog or a cat and you're like, I'm far from that, but in ways we have just really tangible needs that need to be met every day, as far as going to bed, eating, and sleeping. And that is just a part of our lives, and it has to happen. I mean, that's just the bottom line with it. And so it's fairly clearly displayed in Freud's theory, and then also just kind of reinforced in this level of existence. And so in the third level, the mind and psychology, social construction of identity, this is one I really stewed on and thought about a little bit before I went ahead and made this video. And I think it's because our identity is so important to everyone, and that in a lot of ways our identity drives our activities and what we do. And I wanted to compare that to Plato's theory and our theory of forms. And at first I had to look at the theory of forms and use really dramatic and polar opposite examples to get it. Like, we humans, our form is not of an animal, therefore we are not outside naked eating and sleeping and licking ourselves, because that's not our form and that's not where we are most harmonious and happy and functional. And so, but the more I thought about it in more of a realistic way, as in, for me, I am not a good singer, and so I would never just be trying to sing all the time, because I don't have that gift. And not to say that I'm not gifted in other ways, but that is just not my gift, so that's not where I try to form myself within that form, because that is not my perfect form. And I don't think for humans that there is one form that fits all. I think it's unique to everyone and unique to you, and it's just kind of channeling and finding, this is my gifts, my talents, my loves, my desires, and this is how I form it best for me. And so I think that's a really fun thing to do, is to find, I mean, not always fun, maybe sometimes really hard, but to find your identity and who you are. And in a religious way, to say, I am Buddhist, and so this drives why I practice and live this way, or I'm a Christian and this is why I live this way. And so I thought that was kind of a fun phrase. Identity drives your activity. And then the last level I wanted to briefly touch on was our soul and theology, and just compare that to Christianity and how it's just a moral construction of the self, and how in Christianity, literally, they have this Bible with these laws in it and that you follow, and it's a moral code, and how the most important codes within that are to love your neighbor as yourself and to love your Lord, your God, with all your heart, mind, and soul, and how that once you know your identity, then you can move towards your soul and theology into this fourth level. And in many ways, I think people are probably always bouncing back and forth within these levels to really figure out who they are as people and who they identify themselves as. And so I think that's pretty cool too. So I am over for time, and I just wanted to thank you, Professor Albright, for a really great class. I learned a lot. I took a lot away from it, and thank you again, and have a great rest of your summer.